Welcome to the Indian Council of Medical Research online prescribing skill course 2020 for the Indian medical graduate. I am Dr. Rakhi Tripathi, Associate Professor from the Department of Pharmacology and Therapeutics of St. GS Medical College and KM Hospital, Mumbai. And today I am going to talk on prescribing skills for pain management. After watching this video, you will have to solve 5 multiple choice questions and give feedback. You will find both these documents in the assignment section. This module has been prepared by me in association with Dr. Archana Sunavle, Associate Professor, Department of Medicine, Dr. Monty Khajanchi, Assistant Professor, Department of Surgery from St. GS Medical College and KM Hospital, and Dr. Avijit Hazra, Professor and Head, Department of Pharmacology, Institute of Postgraduate Medical Education and Research, Kolkata. This module has been reviewed by Dr. Dennis Xavier, Professor of Pharmacology and Head, Division of Clinical Research from St. John's Medical College and Research Institute, Bengaluru. The outline of this presentation is as follows. We begin with pain management being crucial in clinical practice, followed by the prioritized pain conditions. The module will focus on prescribing analgesics for pain management in cases of acute abdominal pain and chronic joint pain. At the end, the learner will also be appraised with the do's and don'ts with use of analgesics in treatment of acute abdominal pain and chronic joint pain. Pain, acute or chronic, is a major source of distress and disability in the community, and an IMG will have to face patients presenting with chief complaints of pain both in OPD and emergency setup. Efficient pain management is an essential task expected from an IMG in his or her clinical practice. Pain as a symptom presents itself in many diseases affecting quality of life of the patients. As an IMG, you are well versed with pharmacology of analgesic drugs, as nearly 19 competencies of your curriculum focused on pain management in different clinical scenarios. The prioritized competencies were those focusing on pain relief in acute pain scenarios like acute coronary syndrome, post-operative pain, and chronic pain conditions like joint pain and cancer pain. Hence, the prioritized clinical scenarios were acute pain syndromes such as chest pain, abdominal pain, musculoskeletal pain, migraine, traumatic pain, dysmenorrhea, while chronic pain presenting as joint pain, low backache, neuropathic pain and cancer pain. It is evident from literature that among the emergency cases presenting to the emergency department, nearly 70% patients present with acute pain, while various regional pain surveys indicate that 40% cases present to OPDs with chronic pain. In clinical practice, the IMG should be competent to manage these pain conditions and have rational selection of appropriate prompt pain relief drugs. Among acute pain scenarios, acute coronary syndrome, migraine and dysmenorrhea has been discussed in other modules. Similarly, under chronic pain conditions, cancer pain management is dealt in the module on palliative care, and gout and rheumatoid arthritis has been dealt in a separate module. Hence, in this module, drug therapy for pain relief in case of acute abdomen is selected as prototype of acute pain, while chronic joint pain is selected as prototype of chronic pain. Before we start the actual discussion on which analgesic is most appropriate in which pain condition, you must revise the principles of pain management and the WHO ladder for choice of analgesic, for which you may refer to the reference material provided with this video. Thus, the learning objectives are that at the end of this module, the IMG will be able to prescribe rationally an appropriate analgesic for a patient with acute abdominal pain based on clinical features before arriving at a confirmed diagnosis, select an analgesic rationally for a patient presenting with chronic joint pain, justify selection of analgesic for chronic joint pain based on patient's profile. Let us begin with acute pain management, prototype being acute abdominal pain. Before we focus on pain management in a case of acute abdomen, let us revisit the common mistakes encountered in this scenario. Most of the times, the treating doctors are reluctant to use analgesics for pain management in cases of acute abdominal pain, probably because of the fear of masking the acute signs and thus missing the diagnosis. The second mistake is that often the medical staff underestimates the patient's pain intensity compared to what the patients complain. Hence, assessment of pain severity on numerical scales is essential for the selection of the initial dose of the analgesic. And the third mistake is initiating therapy with NSAIDs like diclofenac, ibuprofen in colicky or visceral pain. It must be remembered that NSAIDs are indicated only in inflammatory pain and cannot be used as an universal analgesic for any cause of acute abdomen. Let us read this case. A 45-year-old lady came with chief complaints of periumbilical abdominal pain, colicky in nature, increased on eating and relieved after vomiting since 2 days in the emergency room. She also complains of distension of abdomen without passage of flatus and stools. No history of fever, but her sleep is disturbed. As an IMG, you ask her to rate the pain on scale of 0 to 10 and the patient tells a score around 5. On examination, her pulse was 100 per minute, the blood pressure was 130 by 70 mm of mercury. There was no pallor, icterus, clubbing, cyanosis, edema feet or lymphadenopathy. Abdomen was distended but soft. There was tenderness in the left iliac fossa and on auscultation, hyperperistaltic sounds were heard. Per rectal examination revealed rectum was empty and collapsed. Based on these findings, such as periumbilical colicky pain, distended abdomen without passage of flatus and stools and hyperperistaltic sounds, the treating IMG arrived at a provisional diagnosis of acute intestinal obstruction. Before arriving on the confirmed diagnosis, it is important to provide pain relief to this patient. Hence, which analgesic will this patient receive? What else will you ask in history pertaining to analgesic use? The answer to the first question is definitely paracetamol. And the answer to the second question is that prior to prescribing paracetamol, please ask whether patient has consumed oral paracetamol to avoid overdose. Thus, the correct prescription in the pre-diagnostic phase is injection paracetamol 1 gram intravenously 4 times daily, injection hyoscine butyl bromide 20 milligram intravenously immediately for colicky pain. If no pain relief within 1 hour, add injection tramadol 50 milligram intravenously thrice daily. Other symptomatic treatment included are injection ondansetron 8 milligram intravenously as the patient complained of vomiting, injection pantoprazole 40 milligram intravenously once daily. If no relief is obtained with this preliminary treatment within 2 hours, please refer to the surgeon immediately for further management. As you are aware, there are multiple causes of acute abdominal pain and based on which quadrant there is pain, the diagnosis will vary. For example, in the right upper quadrant, the common causes of pain can be biliary colic, hepatitis, cholecystitis. While in the right lower quadrant, common causes can be appendicitis, pelvic inflammatory disease, dysmenorrhea. Similarly, in the left upper quadrant, it can be gastritis, pancreatitis, and left lower quadrant can be diverticulitis, pelvic inflammatory disease. While the causes of abdominal pain arising in epigastric region are peptic ulcer, gastroesophageal reflux disease, and lastly, causes of abdominal pain arising in periumbilical region can be appendicitis and gastroenteritis. Abdominal pain can be diffuse and not restricted to any quadrant, wherein the causes can be gastroenteritis, bowel obstruction. Irrespective of the cause, you must remember that the primary analgesic for undiagnosed abdominal pain is paracetamol administered in a dose of 1 gram intravenously 4 times a day as it is safe and does not interfere in arriving to a final diagnosis. In spite of being safe, still consider dose reduction in these special situations. Adults weighing 33 to 50 kg or In patients with renal impairment with creatinine clearance in the range of 10 to 30 ml per minute, or in chronic malnourishment, chronic alcoholism indicating glutathione deficiency. In such cases, the dose of paracetamol is administered as 15 mg per kg at 4-hour interval up to a maximum of 60 mg per kg without exceeding 3 grams. In cases of renal impairment where creatinine clearance is reduced to less than 10 ml per minute, there is further dose reduction and paracetamol is now administered in a dose of 10 mg per kg every 6 to 8 hours. And in chronic liver failure, the dose is reduced still further to 7.5 mg per kg per dose with maximum to 30 mg per kg per day. For colicky pain, in addition to paracetamol, remember to add an antispasmodic drug such as hyoscine butyl bromide 20 mg IV slowly, or a selective M3 receptor antagonist drotavarine 40 mg intramuscularly. In severe abdominal pain, opioids like tramadol and pentazocine can be used provided there is no concomitant respiratory depression and head injury. Let us reiterate the salient points in management of acute abdominal pain. Use a pain assessment scale to assess the pain prior to prescribing. Use the WHO pain ladder to choose analgesia, as single drug may not be enough to relieve pain. Use the parenteral route for administration of analgesia in severe pain or when oral drugs are ineffective or intolerated. If it is colicky pain, add antispasmodics like hyoscine butyl bromide or drotavarine. Opioids are indicated in the management of moderate to severe pain. Avoid opioid phobia. Other agents for pain management are passing nasogastric tube and patient positioning, which relieves the tension on the abdominal wall. Avoid NSAIDs, but if the confirmed diagnosis is of inflammatory pain, then NSAIDs are prescribed, but do not prescribe NSAIDs before at least confirming on history about normal renal status of the patient. Let us now proceed towards chronic pain management, prototype being chronic joint pain. Before we see the case, the points to be considered for chronic pain management are that there is a high chance of self-medication and patients need to be explained that NSAIDs or analgesics are for short-term use only. Most of the times, patients self-continue the drug treatment leading to NSAID nephropathy. While selecting a drug, the IMG has to take into consideration the age of the patient, previous duration of NSAID intake, and also comorbidities like heart disease, hepatic and gastrointestinal disease, renal diseases. In addition, patient must be resorting to all other modalities of alternative system of medicine which may cause potential drug interactions. IMG must acknowledge the fact that chronic pain management involves multimodal therapy and drug therapy alone may not be successful. In chronic pain, drug classes other than analgesics are also used in the treatment. Let us read this case. A 60-year-old lady with history of diabetes mellitus and hypertension presented with right knee joint pain on and off since past 5 years. The pain would get relieved with paracetamol and reappear intermittently once in 6 to 7 months. At present, she has worsening of symptoms since past 1 month with persistent pain and swelling of knee, and paracetamol was not providing complete relief. There is also history of on and off pain in left knee joint, but it is not associated with swelling. There is no history of pain in small joints of hands. Provisional diagnosis of osteoarthritis is arrived as there is no morning stiffness of joints, neither swelling of small joints, thus ruling out rheumatoid arthritis. Before we discuss the correct prescription for this patient, let us revise the treatment algorithm for symptomatic osteoarthritis. Every patient must be counseled to do exercise, weight loss, use of suitable footwear and pacing. In addition, physical measures such as local heat should be considered as adjunct to core treatment. If no improvement occurs, then start paracetamol as 2 500 milligram tablets administered orally every 4 to 6 hours as first line therapy for managing pain in osteoarthritis. In addition, topical NSAIDs like diclofenac or ketorolac are prescribed. Topical capsaicin also can be considered as an adjunct to core treatments for knee or hand osteoarthritis. If paracetamol or topical NSAIDs provide insufficient pain relief, then addition of an oral NSAID or selective COX-2 inhibitor to paracetamol should be considered for these patients of osteoarthritis. If no response occurs to this 2-week trial of NSAID, then the patient is referred to an orthopedic surgeon or rheumatologist. After revising the treatment algorithm, which analgesic will this patient receive? The correct answer is NSAID. As paracetamol is providing inadequate pain relief, NSAIDs, which are potent anti-inflammatory and those achieving high concentration in synovial fluid, are preferred. For example, ibuprofen, diclofenac, naproxen, ketorolac, piroxicam, meloxicam can be prescribed. Hence, in this prescription, it is tabbed naproxen, 500 mg, 1 tablet twice daily, administered orally for 8 days. In addition, topical diclofenac gel 2% is to be applied on the affected knee 3 times daily with gentle massaging. Tab pantoprazole 40 mg, 1 tablet at bedtime for 8 days is prescribed to prevent NSAID-induced gastritis. In addition, non-pharmacological treatment like referring to physiotherapists for quadriceps strengthening exercises and avoid climbing stairs frequently and squatting on the floor is also essential. Choice of analgesics in different patient groups with joint pain is as follows. Young patients with no gastrointestinal or cardiovascular risk. In such cases, naproxen, diclofenac, etoricoxib, endomethacin, meloxicam with an added proton pump inhibitor can be prescribed. Young patient with gastrointestinal risk, etoricoxib with a proton pump inhibitor is prescribed. In elderly patient with or without history of cardiovascular disease, naproxen along with a proton pump inhibitor can be prescribed. Similarly, an elderly patient with history of gastrointestinal disease, low dose etoricoxib or tramadol with a proton pump inhibitor can be given. The doses of individual NSAIDs can be revised from the reference material provided with this video. Similarly, in patients with frank renal failure, prescribe tramadol with paracetamol. Patients with borderline high creatinine levels in the range of 1.5 to 2 mg, tramadol is preferred. Serum creatinine levels need to be monitored. If decreasing trend is seen, then switch to naproxen or endomethacin and continue to monitor creatinine levels. Tramadol is started with a dose of 25 mg orally daily once a day, titrated in 25 mg increments every 3 days to reach a total dose of 25 mg 4 times a day. Thereafter, increase by 50 mg as tolerated every 3 days to reach a dose of 50 mg 4 times a day. Maintenance dose after titration is 50 to 100 mg orally as needed for pain every 4 to 6 hours, and maximum dose of tramadol is 400 mg per day. In case the patient is pregnant, definitely the safe analgesic is paracetamol. NSAIDs are contraindicated but may be given in pregnancy only if the maternal benefits outweigh the potential fetal risk at the lowest effective dose and for the shortest duration possible. In lactating females, 2. Paracetamol is a safe drug, and among NSAIDs, ibuprofen can be prescribed as it is not secreted in breast milk. There is inadequate data on the chronic effects of opioids on the fetus, and hence no opioids are recommended in pregnant and lactating females. Thus, based on risk factors in patients with low gastrointestinal and low cardiovascular risk, any NSAID with proton pump inhibitor is preferred. Low gastrointestinal risk with high cardiovascular risk, naproxen is preferred, whereas high gastrointestinal risk and any cardiovascular risk, drug like etoricoxib or any other selective COX-2 inhibitor with proton pump inhibitor is preferred. Thus, to summarize, In patients of osteoarthritis, when paracetamol or topical NSAIDs provide insufficient pain relief, then the addition of an oral NSAID or selective COX-2 inhibitor to paracetamol should be considered. Use NSAIDs or selective COX-2 inhibitors at the lowest effective dose for the shortest period of time, maximum 10 to 14 days. All oral NSAIDs COX-2 inhibitors have analgesic effects of a similar magnitude but vary in their potential gastrointestinal, liver and cardiorenal toxicity. Therefore, when choosing the correct NSAID and dose, take into consideration individual patient risk factors including age during NSAID therapy. Monitoring also of these risk factors is also very crucial. In addition, co-prescribe with a proton pump inhibitor, choosing the one with the lowest acquisition cost. If a person with osteoarthritis needs to take low dose aspirin, healthcare professionals should consider other analgesics like tramadol before substituting or adding an NSAID or COX-2 inhibitor with a proton pump inhibitor if pain relief is ineffective or insufficient. Majority of the patients presenting with osteoarthritis will have concomitant osteoporosis, for which appropriate calcium and vitamin D can be added to the regimen. Hence, to conclude, in chronic pain management not restricted to joint pain, and the analgesic therapy can be initiated with paracetamol as it is safe and can be continued for 4 to 6 weeks. If patient fails to respond to paracetamol, then it can be substituted by NSAID, which can be prescribed for a maximum duration of 2 weeks. If no pain relief is achieved within 2 weeks, then the patient has to be referred to a consultant. In chronic pain, many patients do complain of secondary sleep disturbances. Then first generation sedative antihistaminics like promethazine or hydroxyzine can be added, or non-benzodiazepine drugs like zolpidem can be co-prescribed. This slide lists the various general and indication specific guidelines which can be referred by an Indian medical graduate as and when required. National Institute for Health and Care Excellence NICE has guidelines on general pain management as well as for specific guidelines, for example headache, lower back pain and sciatica, dysmenorrhea, sprains and strains. You can refer to these resources for further reading. I would like to thank all members of the RUM committee at the St. GS Medical College and KM Hospital for providing their inputs while preparing this module. Thank you for watching this video. Hope you are now ready to solve the 5 multiple choice questions. Please access these multiple choice questions in the assignment section and submit the answers. In addition, please do the prescription evaluation as per the tutorial. Hope you have already seen this. Thank you and happy learning.